the gate?
We what?
Should we open the gate?
You have to strong ones.
Quiet today, we doors open so people can go over there. Huh?
Okay,
We'll
ready,
leave it there.
Okay, good morning. Welcome everybody for coming. New faces, old faces. Different people's different schedules today. So
You referring to age?
you could take it in whatever way. New people, old people. What I meant, or new faces, old faces, are in terms of the shir. Seems some people took it in terms of age. Okay.
Age is a state of mind.
Now,
Right, I'm young though.
talking about oddities, today's shir is called Adar Oddities. And really, look back, probably like 5 years ago, we gave a shir on this topic of Adar Oddities, which I'll get to in a moment. But this one is going to be a sequel to that.
So this is the utter shear.
The other one, yeah. But I decided to call this Adar Oddities times 2 instead of 2.0 or 2.
You know, we gotta be more frail and
Exactly. But Adar Oddities times 2 really depicts a lot about what we do here on two others. Sometimes the answer in Yiddishkeit is, what should I do? Should I do this? I do that. You know what the answer is? Do both. That's the idea of two others. Should I do it once? I do it twice? Do it both. So we're going to see multiple ideas of that and ramifications. But first, I'll just give a quick summary of what we spoke about once before, years back, Adar Oddities. One of the strangest halachas that you have, just talking about it before, is in terms of bar mitzvahs. You could have someone who was born after his friend. Shimon was born after Ruvain, but they happened to be born on a leap year. Ruvain was born at the end of Adar Rishon. Shimon was born towards the beginning of Adar Sheni. The year that their bar mitzvah is a regular year, no, not a leap year. There's only one Adar. It'll turn out Shimon, who's younger than Ruvain, would get bar mitzvah first. I learned this halacha the hard way. I told the story years back. I was sitting on a camp bus one day talking to my friend, and we're talking about bar mitzvah parshas. It was in the summer. Our bar mitzvahs were going to be in end of February, beginning of March, the following year. And I asked my friend what your bar mitzvah parsha is. He says, Kisisa. I say, I can't be Kisisa. My bar mitzvah is Kisisa. I was like a month older than this guy. I knew his birthday. I'm like, you got to have it wrong. Now, people have it wrong. I remember this went even further. It was like 2 weeks to my bar mitzvah. And I happened to look at the calendar and someone said to me, oh, your bar mitzvah is Parshas Para. I didn't prepare the lading of Para. I didn't prepare the Haftorah of Para. And the guy's telling me, look, it's on the calendar. Well, I was pretty sure my father got it right. Mitzvah teacher got it right. Yeah, that calendar was mistaken. So I figured my friend doesn't know what he's talking about. His bar mitzvah can't be Kisisa. My bar mitzvah is Kisisa. I went home that summer day, checked into it. No, he was right. Because he was younger than me. The theory was bar mitzvah the same week as me. That's just with me. Now, what's other oddities? I'm probably the biggest oddity of others. I was born in a leap year, Adar Aleph. Hold on, because I'll give you another case. There's even more than that. My oldest son was born on a leap year. And my oldest son had the ultimate case. My case was we were mitzvah the same week. My son had a good friend, Yom Provolsky, who was bar mitzvahed, who was born after him, and his bar mitzvah the week before him. Again, same idea, Adar Oddities. This time around, as Hashem are making a bar mitzvah this Shabbos. Everyone's in the neighborhood is welcome to come here in yeshiva. This son of mine, this son of mine, again, was born in the Adar. Something about here males that they're all born in Adar Aleph. This son was born in a leap year, but he has good news, or maybe not, right? The good news is his bar mitzvah is in a leap year. So he's Adar Aleph, and the leap year also has 2 Adars. Which month is he bar mitzvah in? Halacha is Adar Aleph. Yeah, Harvey, of course, says both. You want to make the second one?
Just a kiddush.
All right, the second kiddush.
Sponsored by Harvey.
2 orders of daring.
We could do it in different shoals.
Doesn't it apply to twins?
That what?
One's born in Adar Aleph.
Yes, you could have such a case. Someone just morning brought up your case. You can have a scenario where they're born literally one after the other, you know, a little bit apart. But one could be an Adar Rishon, the second one could be an Adar Sheni, and the second one could be a month older. Like, again, this is the oddities of the Jewish calendar, the halachos of Chodesh Adar, and okay, very, very interesting scenarios. But that's all covered. You could check Yeshiva's collection of Shirim. Adar Oddities #1 has all this over there. Yes?
If it was also February 29th, did I have to wait till they're 52 to get my mitzvah?
Yeah, the English calendar isn't as tricky. People usually adapt to that easier.
You have to wait for Social Security too.
But what I want to start with today, I want to touch on a couple topics that affect what we're doing right now, a leap year of Chodesh Adar Rishon. First of all, that really just happened on Friday and really yesterday on Shabbos. Friday was what we call Purim Katan. Yesterday was Shushan Purim Katan. If you weren't paying close attention, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. Why? Well, on Wednesday, there was already whispers of it. If you went to certain shoals Wednesday for Mincha, they did not recite Tachna. Thursday for Mincha. Because Friday was Purim Katan, so they did not recite Tachnun already the day before. Okay. But there are some shuls never recite Tachna by Mincha. Ever. There are other things. Okay, you might have missed it Thursday. Okay, come Friday morning, all of a sudden you miss Tachna. You're all excited. You go home, you tell your wife, hey, no, I'm home early this morning. She looks at the clock, it looks exactly the same as any other day. No, I'm home 90 seconds early. Oh, why? Because it's Purim Katan. That is the classic Yakisha Litvisha joke. This is how Litvisha people celebrate Purim Katan, by not saying Tachna. So that's the classic. If you look in your sheets, Yom Yudal with Zayin Tezvav Sheva Adar Rishon, Ein Nofim Al Pneiim, Yom Si Tachton. It's a joke, but it's also halacha. That's the point. That's all for the most part. They talk about. We also don't say Lam Natseach. Some shuls, you never. They go so quick at that part of davening, and then you know if they ever say it. They also talk about being Aser Behesped V'Tainez, but Yesh Omrim you could do Hesped and Tainez. So the real nafkamina is Tachnon, and if you didn't blink, Lama Natseach. Huh? On Shabbos yesterday, you have noticed 2 things. Yesterday on Shabbos, we skipped Avar Rachman. And by Mincha, we skipped Tzidkas Tzedek.
Always skip it if there's no Tachna.
Oh, right. Now, there are other factors. You could have Shavar Brachos, you could have other things there. Okay? Other reasons potentially to skip.
It's a chiddush to say on Shabbos altogether.
Yes. But that's for the most part what all the Mechaber talks about. Okay? But if you look in the language of the Ramah, okay? Don't make fun of the flip-flops. This is the Ramah. Yesh omrim, shachayim laharbos b'mishna v'simcha b'yudal shabbat rishon. There are those that say you should have had a party on Shushan Purim. Okay, remember for next time. When's the next leap year coming? Just a couple of years, right? So there are those that say Adar Rishon, you should be marbe b'mishna v'simcha. Okay, now here's the party pooper. Ve'ein nogin kain. So the Ramah brings, okay, this is where we go, from a tour that we Yesh Omrim that were marbe, but then he writes ve'ein nogin kain. We don't do that. But kol makom yarbek sas besuda. Kedei Lot says yidei amachmirim. He does throw a bone, or maybe a drink, right, or suda, right. He says you should be marbek sas. Okay, again, this is what's the difference. The first one.
Isn't that the exact same thing it says by Purim night itself?
Yeah. First one was chayv harbos b'mishna v'simcha. You're obligated to do this. Here he's saying you're not obligated, but marbek sas. What exactly marbek sas means? Again, not so simple.
Eat breakfast when it's Friday.
And the Ramah ends off the Tov Leiv Mishta Tamid. Pasuk, right? That a good heart, Mishta Tamid is always celebrating, is always rejoicing. He's having l'chaim all the time. Now, just for the note, this is a pretty fascinating point. If you look right after Nishlam Tur Orachayim, Helchas Megillah, Shelach Lodal, Lenora Alila, Liaskren Lagam, Ligmar Eskula, Tzionim Mikol Michshel V'Takala. Baruch Hashem Olam Amin V'Amin. That whole long tefillah is a tefillah by the Ramah, or maybe by the Torah. Actually, they bring the lashon of the Torah, because this is the end of Chelek Orachayim in Shulchan Aruch. This is the last halacha. Shulchan Aruch Orachayim. The Chavetz Chaim, as we'll see in a second, comments a little bit on this. He brings Makol Makom Yarbeh. The Ramah said you should add a little bit. He says Lahazmin B'nei Adam. Agos Tashbitz. Sorry, because of the Yesh Laharbos. He says the Tashbitz was also Machmer. Verbinu Yechil Mi Paris. Raga Laharbos Lahazmin B'nei Adam. So the Chavetz Chaim is stacking on a little bit. The Inyan Joshua like this to make the party. Yeah. Ramah said Ein Nogin Kain. Yesh Nogim Ksas. The Chavetz Chaim backing up at least Nogim Ksas to do it. The Tashbitz did it. Bechilmi Paris did it, but he also invited people over. Mashma, he had a little bit of a suda. He invited friends. Now, that last line, the last line of Shulchan Aruch Orachayim, quotes this pasuk, Tov Lei Mishta Tamid. Comes the Chavetz Chaim, he explains the pasuk. V'zel shesiyam haRamah v'tov Lei Mishta Tamid. This is what the Ramah means when he says Tov Lei Mishta Tamid. It's good to add to our eating, to our celebrating, for the honor of the nays during these times. Pashtus, the reading of the Mishnah Berurah, is that you should do something. And a Tov Lei Mishta Tamid, a good-hearted person, is always partying. Now, this is a heavily quoted halachic source. In the yeshiva world, it's become more and more prevalent. They have what you call an Ein Bain celebration. Ein Bain is a reference to a line in the Mishnah and Megillah. The Mishnah says, Ein Bain Adar Rishon Adar Sheni El Mikra Megillah Bolvad.
It says like 17.
So, yeah. So the guys take it to mean, look, on Purim, there's a mitzvah to drink. So Ein Bain, There's no difference. And you do have this Ramah, who talks about being marbe at least ktsas. So from here, there were definitely celebrations. You look all around the whole Jewish world, there are definitely people that already started celebrating Purim with Purim Katan. Now, there are other ways to read this Ramah. They're very heavily debated. You know, it's a vague statement that the Ramah said at the end. I want to share with you a few other pshatim, maybe 2 or 3 more. The Aruch HaShulchan brings, not on your sheets. He writes, Ikar avodas Hashem hu b'simcha. The main way we serve Hashem is through joy, through happiness. L'chein nisha libo tov u'mechaven l'mitzvah tamid. A person who's on the madrega and is only always doing the right thing, doing l'shem mitzvah, tia simchaso mishta v'simcha shel mitzvah. Sounds like from the Aruch HaShulchan that he reads this language of the Ramah the exact opposite the common yeshiva bracha reads it. The common yeshiva bracha reads it, Tov lei mishta tamid. Time to have a party. Right? Now the Chavetz Chaim even there wrote, Tov harbos the kavod hanes. Chavetz Chaim is also really talking about doing things for the right reason, kavod hanes. But the Aruch HaShulchan spells it out even stronger. Right? Tov lei mishta tamid is someone that is supposed to do mitzvahs b'simcha, and a person is mechaven to do mitzvahs for the right reasons. Well, he's allowed to be mishta a little more today, which would mean that people not on that madrega, according to the Aruch HaShulchan, it's a madrega thing. It depends on what level you're on. A great rabbi, a great tzaddik, who does things for the right reason, yeah, he could have a few drinks. He could have a l'chaim on Purim Katan. But the mere mortals, not operating on that madrega, leave it to them. I believe that's the pshat in the Aruch HaShulchan. I want to share with you another pshat, which I think is fascinating. This is by the Binyan Shlomo, who is Shlomo Kohen of Vilna, has a fascinating pshat. He compares and contrasts the first writings of the Ramah in Shulchan Aruch Chaim, to hear the last one. What's the first halachas you find in Shulchan Aruch Chaim? Halachas of getting up in the morning, and the Mechaber goes through getting up. Okay, the Ramah writes on there, Shavisi Hashem Negdi Summit. Concept you'll see a lot of times in the shul, emblazoned near the Aron. Shavisi Hashem Negdi Summit. That the focus a person should have of Hashem in front of him at all times, that Klal Gadol b'Torah. So Shlomo of Vilna writes, L'chein Messiah Gan Kan Tov Lei Mishatamid. Uba Bezel Litin Eitz Adam Yir Shamayim V'Chasid. That really, I believe the way he's saying it is Yiddishkeit is a balance. This is Ramah's lesson from the beginning to the end. On the one hand, it's a focus of Shavisi Hashem Negdi Summit. I always have to have this certain fear. Hashem is in front of me at all times. I have to have the image of Hashem in my mind always in front of me. But you know what? At the same time, Tov Lei Mishatamid. The person has to be happy, has to do things with a certain simcha. And if you see somebody, the famous story of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter during Yom Noraim, he once asked a person, what time is it? And he saw the person was like so focused on his own davening and high holy day preparation, like he didn't give him a proper answer. So Yisrael's, lesson he tell Talmidim is you have to be balanced. Of course, it's Shavisi Hashem Negdi Summit, even on the holiest of days. You still have to be a mensch. You still have to know how to relate to people. You're still living with 2 feet on the ground. And that's an important lesson, which I believe the Binyan Shlomo is sharing. That's the Ramah's Kavana from Shavisi Hashem Negdi Summit to Tov Lei Mishatamid.
There's an expression in Yiddish.
We'll have to get there. But you're right. Yes.
An expression in Yiddish, it's like this. Es geht zu sein from a Yid, or Zanish Kameshugana.
You know? Thank you for sharing.
Popular anymore.
You dress like that?
Okay, Baruch Hashem. See? From Michigan, from Aventura, this is where the Yiddish comes. So, I think this gives a little bit of a perspective, the last line in Shulchan Aruch. It's confusing. What exactly does it mean? Does it mean you should have a party? Does it mean you should not have a party? The balance is a really tricky balance of what to do. And it's definitely up to interpretation. I'll share with you another halacha, one more halacha about Purim Katan, which also makes it quite interesting. It's okay, let's assume we're being married a little bit in a Suda for the cover of the day. Is there anything else I should be doing? Matanas Levyonim. Interesting idea. Now, I didn't see anyone bring this down to Farish. But again, using the idea of Ein Bains, make a Megillah. Anyone remember the Lashon of Megillah? Remember my Bucky's there? Right? It doesn't say anything about Matanas Levyonim there, right? It says which way? They don't, right? I would think before Mitzvah Hayom. Yeah. So, Pashtos, I don't remember, but don't necessarily have to give Matanas Hayom. You have to give tzedakah every day. It's a wonderful Indian, especially nowadays. They have these new apps for tzedakah. Helps makes things easier, but it still helps to give a live person too. People go around. But I want to share with you the halacha of Mishloach Manos. What's the halacha of Mishloach Manos on Purim Katan? And you're going to say, well, I didn't give it. All right, too bad for this time around. So I'll share with you on your sheets. I found here a Ksav Sofer, right? The son of the Chassam Sofer, leaders of Hungarian Judaism pre the war, where he debates this issue. Should one give Mishloach Manos? Now, this itself is a very good introduction to the halachas of Mishloach Manos. The kasav shel tam shel Mishloach Manos shayich l'suda kederech ovim shebe'etzim chasam ashlichim manos zel lezeh. Is there are those that understand that Mishloach Manos is connected with Sudas Purim. The whole idea, which obviously has grown, some will say gotten out of hand, the whole idea of Mishloach Manos. But according to one Shita, Mishloach Manos is directly connected to Sudas Purim. And an expression, a person has a simcha, they want to invite people to, come to a kiddush, just express it. Or Mishloach Manos says, I can bring the kiddush to you. I can send you the food. So if that's the understanding of what Mishloach Manos is, if a person is going to have a nice meal, come Purim Katan, he wants to go and help out others, Yishach lehem manos. You should go and send them food. And then he writes, V'siyam shezem hashakasav Ramah. Okay, this is shot number 4, 5. This is what the Ramah means. Very traveled on words of the Ramah. Shemisha libo tov ino ra lehanos la'acherim hu'ikayim mishta tamid. Tov le mishta tamid, not just with the Suda, but the Ksav Sofer's understanding, also with Mishloach Manos. So if you're going to have a party on Purim Katan, Ksav Sofer says, spread the wealth, pass it on, give something to your friend on Purim Katan. Now, most people don't know this halacha. To be honest, I get a decent amount of Mishloach Manos. I have never gotten Mishloach Manos on Purim Katan. Right? Anyone here ever get Mishloach Manos on Purim Katan? Harvey?
From a cotton?
Not from a Katan. Right?
What was that?
But Harvey, this is your gateway. Next time, Bez Hashem, 2 years, you should go around giving out Mishloach Manos today.
Yeah.
This way, it's your own crusade You know, maybe the bakeries will eventually learn about Purim Katan and start producing those little hamantash you wanted. But the first step, it's on us. We got to start giving out Mishloach Manos on Purim Katan. Look at the message.
You should start this.
Yes. Huh? No one knows it. So it's a Ksav Sofer. Where are the Hungarians? Go ask the puppies.
Luban was arguing that there's no chiyuv, that it's Baal Tosef for them.
Okay, yeah.
Who do we give the Shalach Manas to?
That's a great question. Rabbi Luban Atov, beautiful story.
Rabbi
Rabbi Luban told me, his father was a Rav for many years, Young Israel, Forest Hills, Queens. And, as a Rav, you get a lot of Mishloach Manos. He said that he had a very smart way of returning Shalach Manos, giving the Shalach Manos out. He went through his shul list, and he figured out the people who would be less traveled upon, not as popular people that may not be getting Shalach Manos. Those were specifically the people that he gave to. That's a good caring Rav. To find the people who other people won't find. And, it's meaningful.
The same thing applies to people who invite for Shabbos meals. It's easy to invite the beautiful people, Try to find the people who...
Well said. Right, well said.
We'll appreciate it.
Yes. You don't have to wait to Purim. It's very true. Now, I would add to this Ksav Sofer, really, the Mishnah Berurah also quoted the Lashon we saw before, Rabbi Chilm in Paris, who said he wasn't just celebrating the Marbek Sas Pesuda himself, the Lashon that the Chavetz Chaim brought, Allah has him in the other, going to invite other people too. So again, if one would keep the spirit of being Marba and Simcha on Purim Katan, again, true Simcha is sharing with others. So whether it means inviting others to a Suda or giving out sometimes Mishloach Manos, there is a halachic basis for it. Harvey, no one does it, but this is our move. And what happens next month? That's going to be a new shayla. If you give them Purim Katan, do you have to give them regular Purim? You say, no, I gave them last month. What's the Iker? I haven't seen the truth on that one yet.
I gave it the office.
I gave it the office, right.
Short memories.
Okay, so that's part one. That's the fun and games of Purim Katan. What I want to do now is talk about the halachos of yahrzeits, which actually came up. We mentioned this will be an issue, and doing my due diligence, returning to it.
Rabbi, my father's was yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Here's my dedication.
Perfect. That is a perfect trigger.
Perfect segue.
There you go. We'd like to thank Zaslows for sponsoring today's share in honor and memory of Ed's father, Dr. Maurice Zaslow, Moshe Chaim ben Tzvi Hirsch. His 8th yahrzeit was on Shushan Purim. Shama should have an aliyah. Now, it's very, very appropriate that, Ed, you're doing this today, and I'll show you why.
Okay.
You look at, on the bottom, towards the bottom of your sheets, Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Siman Tav Kuf Samaches. There, the Shulchan Aruch is talking about the halachos of fasting, and we touched upon this in a shir earlier this year, where the Mechaber writes, Kishi'ira Yom Shemnes Aviv O Imo Ba'adar. If it occurs that a father or mother passed in Adar, V'ashana Muberes, and now is a leap year. Meaning they passed away in a regular year, a non-leap year, and this year is a leap year. Where do you observe the yahrzeit? Now we're going to see the answer to that in a moment. But I just want to point out one interesting point, is the halacha here is what are we focusing on when it comes to a yahrzeit? We're not talking about when should you daven for the Amud. That's not how the halacha was posed. It's when should you fast. We talked about before, there is an idea of fasting on a yahrzeit. Now, If a yurtzeit falls out on Shabbos, even on Friday, we don't fast. Sure, on Shabbos, we do not fast. So that's easy. But, a lot of times we look at the schusim that one could do for a past one, I'll say one-dimensionally. You think of just saying Kaddish. That's like the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, and or with davening for the Yomid. But there's more than that. Fasting is an element, but for most people, many people, the fast is a very challenging point, very hard to do. And we would say it's better to learn Torah, support Torah. These are the type of things, the schusim, that go very, very far, especially on the yurtzeit. And it's always good to think in multi-dimensional ways of how to mark and how to honor, someone's passing. Yes?
Davening for the Amud could become very tricky because if the person really doesn't have a chiyuv, if they're taking the Amud and there's someone there who's in Shloshim or in their
Very good point.
That's what I was asking earlier.
Very good point. Is if we're talking about others and if we're talking about others and a person potentially davening for the Amud twice for the same yurtzeit.
One of them's not right.
Oh boy, right? And you're right. You're taking away in many shuls. A yurtzeit is taking away from a person who's davening chiyuv, shloshim, or a year. So yeah, everything has a cost, and cost benefit balance. So I have to see. I assume that every shul or rav should make a policy, for these things. Well, let's go through the halacha, and we'll see what the Shulchan Aruch says. What should be the policy? What should be the halacha for keeping a yurtzeit? So let's see. Like a good Jewish case, you ask two Jews, you get how many opinions?
At least 4 or 5.
Right. Kisheira Yom Shemeis Aviv. O Ima Ba'adar Ashana Muberes. Yis'ana Ba'adar Sheni. So the Mechaber, you go to a Sephardi shul, you might tell them, okay, keep the second Adar. Haggah comes along the Ramah. Yishom Yis'ana Barishon. No, first Adar. He says, Imlo Shemeis B'Shnasa Iber Ba'adar Sheni. One exception the Ramah is writing. The Ramah says, I usually go first Adar. Mechaber said second Adar. Ramah says first Adar. But the Ramah gives an asterisk. The only time I say first Adar is by a case of where someone passed away, either a regular year or a year which was a leap year in the first month. But if the year the person passed was a double Adar, and they passed in the second Adar, so there, even the Ramah agrees, there you should do it in the second Adar, because that's where they passed. It's only in a case of where it was a regular year, then we would say, very interestingly, according to the Ramah, it sounds like, you go with the first Adar. Now, does that mean the first Adar is the main Adar? Is that how the Ramah is viewing it? It's the first one? We'll see in a moment in the Mishnah Berurah. Miyu, case is over, I got two opinions. Either go with the second Adar, opinion of the Mechaber, or the first Adar, the opinion of the Ramah. Miyu, Yish Machmirim, there are those who are Machmir. Liz Anos B'Shneim. Rachmiel, here you see. There are those who are Machmir to fast by both Adars.
But that's a minute, that doesn't still give you a chiyuv for the
Correct. Very good deal. You're right, Rabbi Berger. He says that there are people being machmir. A machmir shouldn't be a kula on someone else's cheshbon for davening. You're right. We're talking, this is personal. When should I fast? The answer is 3 answers. Either second Adar, first Adar, or both. Now, this again, so I've kept with the theme today, Adar Oddities. Right? Bar mitzvah boys being bar mitzvah, younger boys being bar mitzvah first. What in the world to do on Purim Katan? Lots of confusion. And the third oddity, yurtzeits. Second, first, or both others. Yeah.
What happens
Now,
when you have a bar mitzvah boy who it's the very first Monday or Thursday that he's entitled to an aliyah,
and you have some.
Rabbi Berger, you're not a gabbai, no, I ask such questions.
Third minute, sorry.
Oh no. Now,
The bigger chiyuv is
It
someone
almost
who's getting,
happened.
a man who's getting married that day.
And
okay, hold on. Shh.
No doubt about that.
almost
Right?
happened this year.
If you're a gabbai, you have to deal with a lot of oddities.
Stop the guy.
Harvey, which one am I talking about? The halacha or the people? But okay.
Both.
Now, if you look in the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot and Mem Aleph, there the Chavetz Chaim writes, very interestingly, what's the basis of this machlokas? He says 2 points. It sounds like there's a machlokas here. What is the main adar? Is the first adar the main adar, or the second adar the main adar? Now, logically, we would have thought, which is the main adar?
First and second.
You would think the second one, because that's when you celebrate Purim.
I would have gone like that. I would have thought it's the second, because wherever Purim is, I would think that's the main one. But the Ramah clearly doesn't hold like that. He says the first. The first is the main one. Perhaps it's viewed, right? And I can hear that well. Look, the rabbis added, based on Torah sources, okay, right? A second month. So, okay, the first month that comes up, the month after Shvat, is Adar. That's the main one. The second one is an extra. Okay, we happen to dump Purim there. But you could say...
So it could be
Yeah.
that we're maybe Purim, observing Purim in the second month, the second Adar is an exception because it's also connected to Pesach.
Right.
30 days
Though
after.
most
Yes,
women
whichever
would
one
rather
is
we
Adar.
celebrate Purim the first Adar, gives them more time to clean. Right? That's another oddity of the Jewish calendar every year. You have Purim where you gather all the food from all your neighbors,
So much as you can find.
and then you burn it every day. I saw a comic strip, they said, something you've done 1,000 times. Take out the garbage and never Pesach. Constantly going back and forth. Right? You're still getting rid of the stuff from Purim. Right? Now hold on. There is one other factor the Ramah has up his sleeve why one should pick the first Adar for Yortzites. Ein mavirin al mitzvos. If there's a concept, we don't pass over a mitzvah. So if you have a chance, and he's applying it to these halachas, the halacha of marking a yurtzeit for one's parents, that's a mitzvah opportunity that you have. If I could do this opportunity now in Adar Rishon, I shouldn't wait to Adar Sheni. Ein mavirin al mitzvos. We don't pass up mitzvah opportunities. You do it right away. And that's another reason Chavetz Chaim brings why we should particularly keep the first Adar. Now, if you look in Mishnah Berurah Mem Beis, he does say something pretty fascinating. He brings the Magen Avram. That writes, sounds like the Ikal Lerdina, at least according to Magen Avram, maybe the Gra said, is one should actually keep the yurtzeit in both months. Again, in terms of fasting, to be machmer, it's probably best to do it both. Now, that's not simple. Most of the time it's not.
Maybe you don't call it a yurtzeit this second time around.
First
Right.
time around.
Yeah.
Yurtzeit technically means the time of year.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you call it something else.
But I'll tell you, the common practice in the Ashkenazic world, Sephardic world is different, is to keep the first Adar. But people don't necessarily know this. And I want to, I'll touch in a moment with a fascinating story I just heard. But to summarize so far what we've seen, all these different oddities of Adar. So again, you can have issues regarding bar mitzvahs, younger people being bar mitzvah first, because of the way the calendar is. Purim Katan, what exactly to do on Purim Katan, it's quite odd. That's the second area. And with the yurtzites, which is probably the most prevalent, it's very important for people to know, and especially when you're dealing with people who are a lot of times not religious. We just had a beautiful event the other night. I saw some things, Mr. Rabbi Kopelman, the whole event, Yerucham, just had a whole event for his the Shama organization, which is an organization that helps a lot of times with people not able to be buried otherwise, base mitzvahs. And even then, you deal with people who unfortunately not from, to get a date, what exactly the date the person passed, and to know that, these are intricate halachas. Halachas of when to keep a yurtzeit with a leap year, and the Adar has leap years and this and that. It's complicated. It's very important for people dealing with them to explain in the clearest and simplest fashion. You wouldn't tell them about keeping it, once every couple of years, keep it 2 days.
I think the common thing, if I could just say, many cemeteries send out a kittel. They send out a letter ahead of time saying the yurtzeit of your mother, your beloved, your dear, your peve is such and such a thing. And I think generally people go by that. Right.
Very good point.
That's
right. And you have to know how well these cemeteries,
correct.
Right.
I did that for a while with Neshama, which is the only kosher place in town, in the entire state, funeral home in the entire state.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's very complicated.
Wow.
So this is a very good point.
Thank you.
Share this with our audience. It's a very good point. That sometimes people just keep yurtzeits based on the reminder they get from the cemetery. And unfortunately, especially here in Florida, where there's only one from cemetery service, the other services may not be getting it right.
I find that remarkable. In Southern Florida is so saturated with Yiddish,
but with Jews.
There's with Jews.
Yeah.
You would think
there's one cemetery.
Well, let me end with one amazing story.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
It seems like we're on the Ashkenazi side of this.
cemetery.
Sans the Suda. It seems like everything that is Purim is other base, and everything else life is other Aleph.
That's an interesting point.
Right?
Perhaps.
And it seems like it's mainly the Megillah only that is
right. When we talk, maybe Matosya would be.
I hear. I'm just saying it's the things that we're Mamish busy with. Mamish busy with that we don't do because we eat on a regular day. It's not. I get it. It's a sort of mitzvah on Purim, but still we're
Yeah.
So I'm saying
when it comes to
hold on, I just want to get in the last story. Then you're welcome to Hawk. But I saw a beautiful story that obviously one of the toughest things are situations where a young bacher has to keep a yurtzeit for a parent, and it's a hard thing. The story had it was bacher was away in yeshiva, and he had to keep a yurtzeit for a parent, and perhaps it never was through a year, which was a leap year. The parent was passed away on a regular year. And he learned in yeshiva, he found out that the common practice is to keep the yurtzeit the first Adar. So, oh my gosh, in the past years I did a C Mishnayos, I got my friends to sign up. It's a week away. And what am I supposed to do? So he put up a sign, okay, we'll try to do one Seder of Mishnayos. Put up a sign in the yeshiva, and I'm going to help out. I just found out, I have to keep my mother's yurtzeit in first Adar. And we can sign up to do Mishnayos, in a week. The heartwarming story is that within a few hours, the entire sign was filled up. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Wow. Other Bachrim in the yeshiva realized the boy's plight. He just found out his mother's yurtzeit he has to keep it in a week. They covered for him. They all put out extra time to go through and do it. That's, I think, a beautiful story. We might have these kinks in the calendar, but the way that we Jewish people go with the flow and keep the calendar and keep the mitzvahs and keep doing things as a schus, it's an amazing thing, and it should be a schus for all of us that we should only celebrate simchas, and Be'ez Hashem, be zocheh to see soon the Gula Shlema from here of Yemenim.
When it comes to a kid whose bar mitzvah comes out in